So, just a day after Rockstar Games delivered the second gameplay video for Red Dead Redemption 2, we're now getting a ton of new images and details. Gaming magazines and publications like IGN, Game Informer, GameSpot, and The Telegraph have all been allowed to post their impressions from the first 5 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2. Variety also confirmed yesterday that they would have a huge gameplay preview of the first chapter of RDR 2, as well as an interview with Rockstar Games coming this Friday. So we're starting to get into spoiler territory. I was reading through some of these previews and yeah, there's spoilers. And personally myself, I don't want to read too much into this, so don't expect many spoilers from myself. I don't want to cover that because I don't want to ruin the experience for myself and you. But there is some new information and some really cool things I want to discuss today, like the new images and some of the cool NPC interactions, as well as some of the new information that was revealed. Now I'm actually going to start with a very big detail. We're going to get to the images right after this, but within one of the gameplay previews that came today, it's now being reported by Inside Gamer. They got to play 6 hours of RDR 2, they asked Rockstar Games about some of the areas within Red Dead Redemption. They asked specifically about Armadillo and New Austin, which was teased within the gameplay video part 2, and Rockstar responded. Inside Game noting that, yep, upon inquiring with Rockstar, was told that the full map of Red Dead Redemption is also in the game, but that of course many more areas have been added. In the 6 hours that I played, I crossed only a small part of Blackwater, and even that was gigantic. I did not meet those places because even 6 hours was not enough to see enough. But yes, it sounds like from this, Nuevo Paraíso is back as well, which does make sense because one of the images, which showed the Gila monster, it was teasing both Mexico and New Austin, which I thought was kind of weird that they would just tease that area and not actually include it. But from this quote, it does seem like it's back. But I will say that this news does not surprise me based off of what we've seen and all the various things that we've heard, like that Red Dead Redemption 2 is Rockstar's biggest map ever created. But nonetheless, let's get to these new images. The first one has Arthur Morgan. He just looks badass. Obviously this taking place at nighttime, and with that revolver, and I just love the fire coming from his revolver as he shoots it. And the next image, it looks like we have a train robbery that's going on. You can see the sparks, you can see the train going by, and Arthur Morgan obviously shooting at somebody. Just a very nice image. And next we have Arthur Morgan and John Marston. It looks like they're approaching some type of abandoned building or mansion, and I will say I just really like the lighting of this scene, and there's just a lot of different elements of Red Dead Redemption 2 that I appreciate. And we don't really talk about the lighting or the graphics, but it is extremely detailed, and I love the attention to detail that Rockstar has given to this game. And next we have Mika Bell. It looks like he's using dual-wielding revolvers. I don't know if those are the same guns. I think they are, but I will say Mika Bell's facial expression, I don't know, it just looks a little weird. But either way, another great scene. It looks like it's some area we haven't seen before, but again, you can see the lighting looks great in this image. And it looks like Rockstar Games really wanted to spend some time showing off some of the images of the gang, individual images, because this next one has Charles Smith. It looks like he's traveling through some woods, and you can see him with the bow and arrow on his back and his horse. And I think this may be one of my favorite new images, and it has Arthur Morgan just looking directly into the camera or looking at somebody holding those dual-wielding revolvers. Just looks very badass, probably a robbery that's going on. I love it. And then speaking of robberies, we have a heist that's taking place. We have Dutch Vanderlyn, and then we have Arthur Morgan obviously holding up the bank. And I didn't mention this with my gameplay video that I had yesterday, the full breakdown, but I just love the fact that there's a lot of customization options with how you look during these robberies, like some of the hats, some of the masks that you could wear. It's very cool. And after that we have Arthur Morgan. He looks like he's just walking about. Not much you can really say from this image. You can see the dog in the background, the stagecoach. This area kind of reminds me of Manzanita Post from Red Dead Redemption. And the next image is kind of reminiscent of, I believe, the second or third trailer. There's a certain scene that happens, but it's an execution that Arthur Morgan is conducting. It looks like this may be like a stealth takedown. But next we have Arthur Morgan. He's pointing his repeater at somebody or something, and I just love the detail to these weapons. I think that was something that Rockstar really emphasized within the gameplay video part 2, and I really do love the fact that we may be able to customize and upgrade every single part of our weapons, which is very cool. And I just love the fact that that this game is embracing some of these role-playing elements that you see in a lot of other games. And then speaking of weapon customization, we have, I believe this is Javier Escuela sitting at the table. You can see the cigar box, and then you can see a revolver on the table. It looks like it's unequipped, taken apart, and this is something that we're probably going to be able to do within Red Dead Redemption 2, probably at gunsmiths, take it piece by piece apart. But in this scene we can see Javier Escuela obviously examining his weapon, and there's all kinds of different things on that table. But then Bill Williamson, it looks like he made some people angry. Glad that he has that beard because he looks so strange without it, but yeah, this may be a rival gang, or he just said something wrong at maybe a gambling table or in a saloon, but yeah, he made some people angry. But continuing on, this next image, I believe this is Arthur Morgan with a sawed-off shotgun being aimed right at his head. I have to imagine that either Arthur Morgan stole something from this NPC, or he was just being a little bit of an arse to him. Either way, that is the consequences of the dialogue system and the actions that we commit within the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. Non-playable characters will react dynamically. Some of them will run away in fear, and some of them will stand their ground and attack or be aggressive towards our character Arthur Morgan. And then in a happier image, we have Arthur Morgan. It looks like he spots a dog, and as noted in some of the other gameplay previews, you can pet dogs, and hopefully other animals. I know you can pet a horse, but maybe cats, other animals? Anyway, the point is you can pet dogs. You can also be mean to them. I don't know if that actually hurts the honor and dishonor system, but that is something to take into account. And in the next image, not much that really can be added about this. We've seen this scene before. Obviously Arthur Morgan has a dead deer or some type of animal on the back of his horse, but I will say I love how detailed this shot is. Following that, it looks like we have some of the gang members traveling about. We have John Marston, Arthur Morgan, Micah Bell, and Bill Williamson. And the interesting thing is, all the way in the background, you can spot a desert. I really can't tell where this is. I thought that this may have been the Great Plains. I thought that tree in the background was the broken tree from Red Dead Redemption, but it doesn't really line up. Could be, but I think that this is New Austin, all the way in the deserted area, but I'm not quite sure. But I know that Rockstar Games strategically put that there to make many of us confused and wondering what it could be. And next after that, it looks like we have Arthur Morgan just about to have a duel with some NPC. And then lastly, it looks like we have the whole gang together. Looks like a fight's just about to happen. Arthur Morgan with that revolver raised, and it looks like everybody's kind of serious. You have Hosea Matthews, Dutch Vanderlyn, Arthur Morgan, John Marston, Bill Williamson, Lenny Summers, and it looks like the rest of the gang behind, so maybe they are moving the camp. Not quite sure, but I certainly love that Rockstar Games, just a day after this big gameplay video, we got all of this. Now, as I said before, there has been some new details and some new NPC interactions I wanted to mention. One of those mentioned in the Game Informer preview, in which they said, unlike the last game, the camera does not pull away during this action, which is referring to skinning. Arthur holds the creature with one hand and pulls its hide off in one smooth motion with the other. Skinning deer is a more complicated process, with Arthur sliding his knife down the creature's belly and methodically removing the hide. So yes, it's more complicated, but you're going to be able to see it all. And now noted in the Telegraph preview of Red Dead Redemption 2, it's noted that Rockstar says that it used 1,000 actors to flesh out the inhabitants of its towns and wilderness. Each non-player character in the world has their own personality and mood state, which can be calmed or escalated by talking to them with a squeeze of the left trigger and choosing a dialogue option. So a lot of people have been curious about the massive size of Red Dead Redemption 2 being over 100 gigabytes. This is probably why. A ton of dialogue will do that. It's hard to compress audio. I just love the fact that there's going to be so many interactions that we can have, so many dynamic moments that you have never really experienced in any other game before. Now, some other really cool interactions that were mentioned in the same Telegraph preview, Arthur comes across an author attempting to write a book on gunslingers. With a down and out drunk, the man then tasks Arthur with finding a group of legendary gunslingers, handing over a selection of pictures and a last known location for Arthur to track them down across the map. So this may be how we have some duels with legendary gunslingers, or maybe interactions. It would be awesome to see Arthur Morgan meet face to face with Landon Ricketts. Obviously they wouldn't fight, but I would love to see that happen. And within the gameplay video, there was actually a Mexican gunslinger that was spotted, and a lot of people are predicting that this could be Red Dead Redemption's fictional version of Pancho Villa, who was a Mexican revolutionary general and one of the most prominent figures of the Mexican Revolution. And he was also known for leading a raid against a small United States to Mexican border town. And I will mention from that armadillo scene that was spotted in the gameplay part 2 video, maybe that's what's happening. That is a gang that's run by him, and maybe that's a legendary gunslinger that we'll encounter and have to take out. But continuing on, Telegraph also notes there are seemingly countless occurrences throughout the game. Later, on the swampy outskirts of Saint Denis, a pair of outlaws from a local gang have 2 men on their knees by the water. I can trot on by as the men are executed and dumped into the bayou, or intervene by taking out the gang and gaining some honor. And then IGN notes another NPC interaction. After getting jumped by a bad guy hiding in the barn, I had the choice to take him out or spare him following our fist fight. I chose the choke him to death option, moving my morality meter a bit towards the evil end of the scale. But yeah, from these new gameplay previews, we're getting a lot more details on the story, as well as even more NPC interactions that we may have. There's just so much content to this game, and NPC interactions are obviously going to be very key for shaping the character of Arthur Morgan if we want to be more honorable or dishonorable. Now before I end this video, I quickly want to do a little mini rundown of some of the new details revealed. This is via Rockstar Intel, big shout out to them, and here it is. If you lose your hat, it can be found on the minimap to go pick it back up. Players have their honorable and dishonorable deeds tallied as they play, though Rockstar says it's not as linear as a system as it was in the first game. The musical score will shift, reflecting our moral alignment, so if you're being honorable or dishonorable, and your character's posture and facial animations will change. Very interesting. Now within general stores or gunsmiths, you can choose to browse the shelves similar to how Ammunition works in Grand Theft Auto 5, or flip through a catalog. The catalog is a little easier to navigate, and it's filled with period language and illustrations. The longer you spend on your horse, the tighter your bond grows, through 4 levels. Each level provides a new riding ability, like being able to rear up on command, perform dressage, and eventually pull off the equine version of drifting with a slide turn. That'd be very fun to see. And now the last detail mentioned is that IGN left a house with some oatcakes, canned food, and a pack of premium cigarettes, one of which they lit up outside, and the net effect was stamina going up, the health core meter going down. So yes, whatever you eat and drink will affect Arthur Morgan, and with cigarettes, yes, it helps the Deadeye meter and it can help your stamina meter, but it will have a negative effect like your health, and that's something that we're going to have to take into account. And I'm sure within the gameplay video part 2 we saw a menu, so maybe it'll show some of the effects of certain things that we eat, like some of the pluses, some of the advantages, and some of the disadvantages, which is actually a very nice new feature that Rockstar has introduced. But yeah, we got a ton of new gameplay details from these new previews, but I will make sure again to say be very cautious with where you're getting your information and news from, because there are many spoilers within these previews. A lot of people playing 5 to 6 hours of this game, and of course there's a lot of story information that I think a lot of us just want to experience ourselves. But anyway guys, it seems that Rockstar is going all out. October has begun, and so far 2 days into this month, Rockstar has delivered a gameplay video. Now we have 18 new images and a whole ton of new details. So yeah, this month is going to be a lot of fun until we finally get to October 26th, and then I think it's going to be dead silent from everybody as we experience the game for ourselves. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think of some of the new details? What do you think of the confirmation that Nuevo Paraíso and New Austin is back? Let me know, and make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value. Also consider subscribing for much more Red Dead Redemption 2 content to come, as I'm one of your best sources on this upcoming game. And remember, Outlaws for life.